Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jane Botlinger, and I'm taking our president Sue Colley's place today. She had to leave and go out of town. So bear with me on this one. Today we're having our first lecture of our season, and it's co-sponsored by our Parkinson's Support Group of Green Valley and the Green Valley Recreation. So we're very grateful for them for providing this room. They provided some water and we provided the snacks. So help yourself when you want something. There's a couple of announcements. First of all, this is being recorded and is also a Zoom meeting. So just to be aware of that. We've had a few announcements that I'd like to make before I introduce our speakers. Well, we had a grand opening last Saturday. Yeah, it was wonderful. Thank you to everybody who contributed to help fund some of the renovations so far, and a thanks ahead of time for those who will continue to help us raise funds. It was a success. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony, and we had over 50 people roaming in and out of the place as we celebrated. So thanks for that. And if you haven't been to the center yet, and even if you were at the grand opening, there's still more additions that were put in. So feel free to come over on our days that we do have office hours. Usually our office hours are Monday, Tuesday, and Friday from 1 to 3:30. But check the calendars and your newsletters and Charlene's messages too. We do have something to say about the September calendar. Play was usually scheduled for the 3rd Friday of the month, and it was put on the 4th Friday. And as it turns out, it's better on the 4th Friday for everyone. So whatever's on the calendar is correct, the 22nd. We'll have some kind of nice play activity. I encourage everyone to look at the newsletter every month, because it does have a lot of important information, lots of activities and lots of news that you need to know. Sometimes we get requests on, what's happening when. If you go to the website, gvparkinsons.org, it's all going to be there for you. It's a very comprehensive newsletter online. It's a shortened one on a printed version. So I encourage you to check the online version. Okay, next week, we have some activities. Our Thursday meet and greet is at the Arizona Family Restaurant at 9 a.m. Please join us for food and conversation.
Here we go.
We usually have a good time. Also, this Saturday, we are playing table tennis. Here that is the more sophisticated word to use. I mean, I myself call it parky pong, but table tennis. Also on Saturday, we found out that there is a massage therapist that is coming to do chair massages on Saturday from 10 to noon. And she can borrow tomorrow, Saturday. Yeah. And she's just taking donations. So feel free to step in, ping pong, chair massage, can't go wrong. And I guess my last announcement would be that we will have our next lecture series on the 1st Friday in October, and that's October 6th. I think that's all for the announcements. Well,
Sounds good.
welcome to our series this year, the 2023-24 series. It's always been important to learn about Parkinson's and living well with the disease. And this is the first time we made it part of our motto, Give Parkinson's the Sack. And we've had an addition to that sack. Okay, our sack is mentally stimulated, physically active, socially connected. And there was there's a little history in the newsletter this month telling you that somebody suggested, why don't we put a K on the end of that? And one of our members came up with becoming increasingly knowledgeable. And so that's an addition to our motto. Well, you know, when we were kids, I know when I was, and you lose your balance and you know, stumble over something and somebody say, have a nice trip, you know. But, you know, it's not a laughing matter anymore, is it? It's nothing, there's nothing funny about tripping or stumbling or falling. September is Fall Prevention Month. And for people with PD, preventing falls is near the top of their list for staying as well as possible for as long as possible. And so today's speakers will address that fall prevention. So I'm going to introduce all three of our distinguished speakers today. We have Chris Erickson, who's an RN. She is the Executive Director of Valley Assistance Services, certified parish nurse at Valley Presbyterian Church, and a church organist at Our Lady of the Valley Church. Busy lady. Chris was born in Duluth, Minnesota, and grew up not only in a musical family, but also in a family that owned an independent pharmacy. Remember those family pharmacies we used to have? This is unbelievable. She became a church organist at the age of 10. Wow, that's incredible. What was I doing at 10? I don't know. And then she also was a pharmacy tech alongside her father at their business. She received her BA in nursing and worked for 20 years in a trauma regional hospital. A move to Green Valley in 2008 with her husband and two daughters brought a change to her career. And that's when she accepted the position of parish nurse. She has been in the healthcare field now for over 30 years, adding many certifications and licenses to her impressive accomplishments. Chris puts emphasis on wellness prevention, dementia support and education, end-of-life issues and aging and faith classes, and provides caregiving classes, advanced directive classes, as well as health screenings. She has developed health needs assessments and made visits in homes, adult care homes, hospitals, and rehab units. Chris has been recognized and associated with many agencies and programs dealing with aging and fall prevention. She has been the Executive Director of Valley Assistance Services since 2018, building teams of RNs, case managers, professional staff to provide new strategies and programs to strengthen seniors, individuals, and families, encouraging financial, health, and social stability. Wow, Chris, it's amazing. Our next speaker is Deborah Laughlin. Have that right? She's also an RN and is associated with Valley Assistance Services in the SHIM program. And Chris and Deborah both will be talking more about that in their little talks. So Deborah's with Valley Assistance Services, and she's been a registered nurse with a lot of experience, 50 plus years of experience. So she's got a lot under her belt there too. So welcome to our program. And then along with that, we have another speaker whose name is Jill Leach. And Jill comes to us from the Green Valley Fire Corps. And in speaking with Jill this morning, found out that she chose this avenue rather than doing something with the Animal League because both of her sons are first responders, one in Colorado Springs and one in Huntington Beach, California. So we welcome you and your expertise today too. So I think I'm done. Thank you very much for listening to all that introduction.
Thank you.
short. Good afternoon. I am Chris. I am a registered nurse and executive director of Valley Assistant Services. And what I'd like to talk about is fall prevention. With me is Deborah and Jill. So I'll start it off. I'm gonna turn it over. And we're gonna do a little bit of examples. I want to do some interaction as far as questions right in, and I want to see if somebody can kind of guess what I'm talking about, some of these things. So anyway, welcome Jill and Deborah with us. So I have begun SHIM. SHIM is Safety and Health in Motion. It's a fall prevention program. I wrote half of it, and Katie Sayer wrote the other half, who was an RN at the Green Valley Fire District at the time. So we began it in 2010. I started it in 2011, and we have seen over 1,500 people in that program since it has began. So what we look for is kind of what we just heard about. Emotional, mental, physical, social, and environmental. So Jill looks for environmental. Deborah is going to look for medical history and go through all that. But we have developed SHIM with the U of A Center of Aging and Nursing professors to make it now an evidence-based program. We use that generic British geriatric and American geriatric standards to bring it into the SHIM program. So now it's evidence-based. So we have a team that goes out. So you might see Jill and Deborah go out together. It's an RN and a Green Valley Fire Corps volunteer that go out and visit people in their homes. The best way to screen and educate is what you can see. So walking through the home with someone, and we're not intrusive. We don't bark orders. We do gentle recommendations that actually do make a big difference. First of all, we've left some information on the table that you can take as on your way out. You know, when we look for falls, that happens to anybody. Doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter what's going on. It happens all the time. Falls in the past year, 1 out of 3 over the age of 65 will fall. That's what's happening. So what happens when we fall? We resist going to activities like this. We resist going to activities with Maya, you know, with her exercise program. Because why? Fear factor. We're fear of falling because we've already fallen once, and there's a fear. So 1 out of 4 will have that happening as well. We look for medical conditions such as medications, and I'm going to give one example since I came from a pharmacy background. I went on one visit and I came into a household and 32 medications were lined up. That's one person, 32 medications. Both prescription and over the counter. First of all, does the physician know? Does your physician know what you take both over the counter and as a prescription? Do they know the whole thing? The other thing is, can you read the prescription bottle? These were so small, this particular person could not read the label. You can ask your pharmacy to make that bigger. That by law they can do. They just do a larger print. So they couldn't read the prescriptions. They couldn't read the box that some of the over-the-counter products came in. We started adding up things all the way down, and it was into the 13 to 15,000 milligrams of calcium concentrated drops, because we didn't know how many to read or add. See how that kind of gets scary, doesn't it? So, you know, and how many interactions are we talking about when we have 32 prescriptions or medications lined up? What's happening with that? The average national medication is 3 to 5 prescriptions. We don't average that down here. We're 10 to 15 per person. We have to ask, and I'm going to say, empower everybody to ask, do I need all of these to your healthcare provider? And is this what I should be taking? If so, how often and how much? Number one question. Very much a safety issue. Side effects of those medications are what? Drowsiness, dizziness, those are big time, side effects of all those medications. So we have to ask, and we should be talking to our healthcare providers about those to see what we can do. Use one pharmacy and talk to our healthcare providers. The other thing is the feet, examine the feet. Always make sure you're, wearing comfortable shoes, something that is not maybe a flip flop that might be over here and you're over here. So, examine the foot. We have a lot of, peripheral neuropathy in our community. We have a lot of diabetes in our community, and what indicates that? We have a lot of feet problems. And so I have, witnessed, someone who had a nail in their foot for 2 weeks because they did not watch their feet. Kind of scary stuff, isn't it? It's kind of scary, but it's all preventable. You watch your feet, you can do your exercises with Maya, you do your good footwear, watch what you're taking, when you're taking it, talk to your healthcare provider, and you're kind of back on track sometimes. So we kind of look at that. We look at medical information, and Deborah will get into that in just a minute. We look at environmental stuff. So there was one visit I went on, and someone was already on the ladder, changing the light bulb. That's kind of scary. That's kind of scary. Not only can you fall and really hurt yourself off of ladder, broken bones and such, you can have a subdural hematoma if you have blood thinners. Not good. So, let someone have that. And Jill will be talking about smoke alarms. Green Valley has a great program with that. So we don't need to climb ladders, if not have someone else do that. So, just kind of watching and trying to prevent some of those things. I'm going to turn it over to Deborah, who's going to talk a little bit about what she might ask and what she might do. But before I do, I have one question. There's one medication over the counter that the research says that is really indicating falls lately. This is from the U of A research. Anybody know what that is? Over the counter, it's in things and by itself. Yes, Benadryl. Benadryl. Those who take Benadryl over the age of 60 is carried into the next day. So now you have drowsiness into the next day. So be careful on that one. Tylenol PM, Advil PM, and Benadryl. Those are all kind of combined. Right on. Okay, Deborah.
Chris is,
Yeah.
just handed that, just unclip it.
Oh,
She can just hold it.
I feel so energized because two of these things have like, the magnets on them. I feel just kind of like.
She could just hold it in her hand.
Okay, good. There you go.
Thanks.
You're good.
When you get up there, would you just tell us who you are one more time when you start? Thank you.
Deborah Blackman, nurse with Valley Assistance Services, old nurse with Valley Assistance Services. In my nursing career, I have seen. Let's try this one. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
In my career, I have seen so many falls and so many bad injuries from falls. I did an assessment on a lady that was in a wheelchair probably for the rest of her life. Very little mobility. She had slipped on a rug in a wet bathroom and fell across the tub and broke her back. And that can happen so easily without anybody thinking they're gonna fall. Nobody plans to fall, and everybody who has fallen is afraid. There are some things you would need to ask your doctor about fall risks that you would need to ask your doctor. If you have tingling or numbness in your feet, it could be a B12 deficiency. That's easily checked with a lab test, and it's easily supplemented with sublingual B12, vitamin B12. You need to get the vitamin D that you need that strengthens your bones, and they can also check a blood level and get you on the dose of that that's therapeutic. If you feel unsteady when you get up, that could be a lot of things. If you're lightheaded, your blood pressure could drop when you stand up. That's called orthostatic hypotension. And that happens to a lot of people that have high blood pressure or are on blood pressure medications. And that's a very good way to fall. You stand up, you're lightheaded, it's very easy to go down. If you're breath, you're more likely to fall. If you have chest pain, that's not good, and that can bring you down.
We like you.
Christie, what the chair?
There are a lot of conditions that will cause dizziness. Those will make you fall. Anybody who's on more than 4 medications, that's a pretty easy way to fall. Some of the meds that Chris already mentioned are antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, sleeping meds, or antipsychotic meds. Wine, beer, any alcoholic beverage can make you more prone to fall, and they can interact with a lot of different medications. And I'll let you talk about one with yours. There are pendants you can get. If you fall, you push the button, or it will tell you, it will automatically tell somebody that you're falling and they'll send help. You need to have a vision screening, because if you can't see where you're walking, it's an easy way to fall. Hearing, vision, thinking, memory, all of these things it's just so easy, and it's usually preventable if we take the help that we need. Hormones can make a difference. Women over 60 or men who have been on steroids or other hormones can break something very easily when they fall. Osteoporosis. If you fall, you've got a higher rate of fracture than somebody who doesn't. That's a thinning of the bones. Vitamin D will help with that. Calcium at the right dose will help with that. And they can find those levels just by a simple blood test. I think that's about all I did. You didn't.
That's me. So, vitamin D, anybody from Midwest here? Yes, guess what? Vitamin D, 75% of us from the Midwest are deficient. So ask for a level. Oh, my clippy. I forgot the clippy. I think it's a Zoom clipping. Just interesting. Okay, so, you know, you have a right to ask for a vitamin D level. Some people are deficient in that, which cause tiredness, kind of sleepiness. We have anemia too. A chronic anemia might be dizziness, tiredness as well. So some of those kind of are underlying chronic illnesses or factors that might come into play when we're talking about health. I want to sneak in one more thing before Jill talks. Pets. I have 2 cats and dogs that, my goodness, I just about flipped down my face last night. So they get into us, don't they? They like to sit on our feet. They like to, you know, and then you just gotta watch kind of where you're walking. I had one particular man who just, he would only look at his cell phone. I said, you better put that away. There he went down. So when you're paying attention more to your cell phone than where you're walking, it gets kind of difficult that way too. So I'm gonna throw it over to Jill. She'll talk about environmental factors.
Never worn one of these before. I don't have a medical background at all. I have 3 sons who spend a lot of time in the emergency room. sometimes it was so frequent, we'd walk in and they'd say, what color popsicle this time? As I said, two of my sons are first responders, so I was drawn to the fire corps. My job is, it's called SHIM, which I think we've already said, Safety and Health in Motion. And what I look for are physical trip and fall hazards in your house. So when I travel with a nurse, and Deborah and I will be going out starting now, I believe. I look for a lockbox by your front door. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a black box about yay big. And the fire district, it costs, you have to pay for the box. And your house key is in there. And only the fire department can open it. And if there is a problem, you trip, you fall, you have a heart attack or something, rather than taking time to beat down the door to get to you, they can just walk right in. And it's probably saves a lot of lives. I really recommend that. The second thing I look for is when I'm snooping around in your bathroom is a grab bar in your tub or your shower. That's very, very important. I think a lot of, I don't know the percentage, but a lot of the falls happen in the bathroom. And while we're in there, I make sure that you have night light in there. So if you get up in the middle of the night, you can see where you're going. I've got a whole list of stuff I look for. Envelope of life. Fire code, you give those to it too? Which is, you put it on your refrigerator with a magnet, and it's got your name, your meds, your first, your contact people. Let's say you do fall, trip over something and knock yourself out or whatever. One firefighter will go to you, the other one's gonna look for the contact information on your refrigerator. Very simple thing to do. We look for, make sure you have fire extinguishers. We look at your bed skirt to see if it's too long that you might trip on that. Just anything that might cause you to trip and fall. We look for smoke alarms. Make sure that you've got enough of those, one in each bedroom and one in the hallway, but not in the kitchen. Cooking your Thanksgiving turkey will set it off. We don't recommend that. But like I said, we've got a list, I don't know, 50 things.
Yeah, at least in every room.
In every room.
Yep.
And we are completely free of charge. We come bearing gifts. We've got smoke alarms and night lights and all kinds of good stuff that we give to our clients. And I have to say, here in Green Valley, I have seen some really, really basic living conditions up to absolute mansions. And we're looking for the same thing in all of them. Keep everybody safe. Anything else? Any questions? Yes.
How do we get your services?
You call them. Call Valley Assistance.
So I left some of the brochures over with our name on it. There's one panel that does describe the fall prevention on it, and then you can go call that number. I'm gonna say we have a great grant going on right now, so the safety equipment that Jill described, reach stick, night lights, smoke alarms, fire extinguisher, we can give out. So those are at your, as long as you do the program, those we can give out. So we're trying to.
I call that Santa Claus fund.
Santa Claus time. Okay, that's good. That anyway, what safety and health in motion is, you can hear it. It's fire safety. How do you get out of the house? She's talking about fires when things happen. And we've had a number of them lately, you know, around us and in the backyards and on the mountains. And then also health. So not only tripping and falling safety, but fire safety, and then it's your health. Staying active, staying physical, working with your quads, and I know Maya does that, and your ankles. So U of A research has also indicated that the ankles have become weakened quite a bit, and that's where they're seeing falls now happen rapidly. So that's one other thing. I wanted to, any other questions? I'm gonna keep going. Yes.
I was just gonna mention that there's also an envelope, envelope even, that one for the car. The yellow one, you know what I'm talking about?
Yellow dot.
Yeah.
Yellow dots.
That was yeah, we've got those
Great.
in the car. The other thing that I have on his telephone is an app called Fall Safe.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay.
If he goes down, it'll start making a noise, and if he doesn't turn it off, it'll call me and 911 at the same time.
That's amazing. That's great. That's great. Yeah, using technology to do that. I know some of the new iPhones, the Apple Watches also do that. Will indicate. Yeah, there was another question here.
Yeah, that's one, I go hiking and if I
Yep.
go too fast, I have to tell it I'm okay.
See?
Because it will
Yep.
tell you, have you fallen or, and it's not just yes or no, are you okay? You have to answer 3 questions.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Perfect. You know, things can happen anywhere, can't they? They really can. Outside, we have a lot of rocks in our yard. We've seen a lot of people just tripping if they went off the sidewalk, and hiking, walking, those types of things. Absolutely anywhere. Yes,
My neighbor across the street, not too long ago, fell in her house early in the morning. Alexa, call 911.
Yep.
It works.
perfect. I mean, technology nowadays is so much different than when we even wrote the program. It's yes. Although we get into somebody who has a bird. Have you heard this? Yeah, I have parrots. So they will call Alexa whenever, so I gotta be careful on that, so, yeah. There was another question somewhere, I thought. Yes, there are companies that will recharge them. I'm gonna say there's a cost to recharging them. Look at where the indication is on there. A lot of them will say that they're out of, the green range and into the red range, but there are some companies. I know for business purposes, United Fire is one of them that will do that, but I couldn't tell you the cost of that. But, yeah, that keeping those up to date and ready to go, is a good thing. Any other suggestions with the fire extinguisher? Costco. Yeah, Costco sells them, but like I said, if you, and
It's cheaper than getting them.
it could be cheaper just getting a new one versus recharging. Yeah, you would have to investigate that a little bit further.
I love seeing cards on the table with the fire, all the different services, the fire corps provides and all the phone numbers on, this is card.
So she has all her numbers. We have our numbers there. I wanted to do I have still a few, we're good?
You're
Okay,
fine. You have
good.
plenty of
Oh,
time.
Good. So, I wanted, I've done, a
John?
few of these, presentations. Katie Sayer and Chris Kang and I went to actually Washington DC and presented it there at a national, conference. So, it's kind of, we were out of the box at the time. There are some now, I think in Nevada, Colorado that have, some of the same thing where the fire departments are partnering with a community agency to do kind of the same, types of programs. But, so here, I'm just gonna read these off and just think about if you're answering yes or no. And then we're gonna total these at the end. I have fallen in the past year. I use or have been advised to use a cane or walker to get around safely. Sometimes I feel unsteady when I am walking. I steady myself by holding on to furniture when walking at home. I am worried about falling. I need to push with my hands to stand up from a chair. I have some trouble stepping up onto a curb. I often have to rush to the toilet. I have lost some feeling in my feet. I take medicine that sometimes makes me feel lightheaded or more tired than usual. I take medicine to help me sleep or improve my mood. I often feel sad or depressed. Now, if you have scored more than 4, answered more than 4 yeses, you are at risk for fall. It doesn't take much, does it? It's just a few questions, which are not very many, but adding up, it really kind of compiles and really does different things. So I think I encourage you to just be aware of your surroundings. Watch your feet. And then, you know, again, we do education. SHIM is all about education and making everybody more aware of what's going on. Sometimes we say, well, no, that doesn't pertain to me. And the more time we sit down with people in their home and asking questions, they'll say, wow, I might have that. You know, we do a balance, kind of a balance testing at our SHIM. It's called the tug test. And so we do that at our SHIM visits, and that kind of indicates a little bit of a high risk for falls too. Deborah talked about getting up really quick. So we're always kind of, we want to fly to the bathroom or the phone, you know, I had someone trip through the doorway because they were racing to get the phone. Well, now we have smartphones, we can put the smartphones in our pocket and let it ring if we need to. But, or turn it off. But getting up, you know, to the count of 10, I've told many people, with blood pressure medications and being dizzy and all, just get to the edge of your bed, edge of your chair and count to 10 and go slowly up. And that seems to cut down on dropping of blood pressure and getting dizzy a little bit more, so. Anybody else want to add anything?
One
Okay, go
story
ahead.
that
Yep.
we haven't covered. I used to work in a nursing home in Missouri, and there was a lady, a patient there who was wheelchair bound.
And push the microphone down just a little bit, the other one. There you go.
Lady that was wheelchair bound, and she was only in her 40s. And the doctor told me that this lady had pretty much lived on drinking soda from the time she woke up to the time she went to bed. And it had thinned her bones, the acid in the soda had thinned her bones so badly, she had multiple fractures and no hope of ever walking again. So that's one thing that makes, if you're drinking too much soda, that makes you more at risk for
I
fractures.
really think that should be added to that list.
Yeah, true.
That is
Yeah.
detriment to every,
Yeah.
not only falls, but your teeth.
Yeah.
It's a robber of all of these things.
Yeah. When Diet Coke can take rust off a car, you know what's happening in your body.
Yeah.
That's a fact. You want to add anything, Jen? Okay, any other questions? Yes.
I have a question. I just wanted to mention that there is a group in Green Valley that practices Tai Chi 3 times a week. And Tai Chi is a fabulous way to develop an anti-fall balance in your body. And it also helps to strengthen all your muscles. It's very slow, and it's one heck of a bargain because the group costs $12 a year and you can go to Tai Chi 3 times a week. So I invite you to join us.
What is it?
It meets at the Catalina Vista, which is just a small satellite center. And Mondays at 4:30 are going to be having brand new people, but it's Monday at 4:30, Tuesday at noon, and Thursday at 10 a.m. And you can come to any of them, and you're welcome to try it out a couple of times before you join the group.
I've tried it. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. Not only for visualizing, slowing yourself down and really enjoying the moment. It really lowers your blood pressure too, and your anxiety. I mean, it's worth a try. It's great stuff. Yep. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share? Yes.
Years for about 15 years now, I have to be on my own. And the best advice I would have is to walk with and people always make it to keep you in something. But that's a piece of information that my body takes better than my ears. Is when that pain, you know where you are. So some people think you want to use a pain or walking to make it off balance, but it's really a remarkable piece of information for you. And that pain is something hard to get around, you know where you are.
Correct. Yeah. And so many times there's uneven surfaces. We've had a lot of falls in our area because of the parking blocks. you know, the painted parking blocks, people are stumbling over that. So if you have something in front of you, yes, yeah, to help you. Absolutely, absolutely. It should not be viewed as a disability or anything that you use. You know, anybody, any age, for any reason can fall.
What is the connection between vitamin D and the Midwest? Is it the lack of sunshine?
Yes, there's no sun. So, you know, and the other thing was, yeah, I worked for an endocrinologist, that's why I kind of know this, but they wanted you to go out, to grab more sun, let's say capture more sun without sunscreen for 20 minutes. Well, what happens with that now? What happens with that? Skin cancer is so rapid. And we just saw what happened with Jimmy Buffett and skin cancer. It does happen. It can be very fatal. And so, you know, still using protection on sunscreen, but asking the doctor for vitamin D or nutrition information on the foods that have vitamin D, like milk and other things, can absolutely help. And just getting your vitamin D level checked. That's one big thing.
I'd like to add that the SHIM visits are completely free.
Yeah, so
We just have to have an appointment.
just an appointment, like I said, it would be, here's your team right here that might come and see you. And then we will do the safety equipment, those are provided at the visit as well, so.
But do get a lockbox if you don't have one. I think that's the most important thing.
And that would be with our visit as well, so we're providing that. As we go along, we have a special grant for that safety equipment. When Jill talks about a lockbox, they put mostly at your primary door as you go in. I visited one household where the person fell, could not get it to anywhere, could not get to the phone. The neighbor called and they broke in through her front door and skylight. So those things get costly, but the lockbox is there for, and they only are the only ones who have that key to get in if needed.
On the SHIM visit, can you check the lockbox to see if that key works?
We don't have access to that, only the officer on the fire truck.
But we can call and make a referral for them to come out and double check.
Because I don't know if we've changed the locks since.
Sure,
I'm sure that they would be happy.
we can coordinate that, that's not a problem, yeah.
They have a key to the front doors, combination locks.
Combination lock, as far as I know, they usually regular key, so it might be, maybe another door or, yeah, I'm not sure. That one would have to be a question for them that handle that at the fire department.
Fire Corps has a couple of guys, and that's pretty much how they do is lock boxes. And you make them, you know, I can't talk. You make an appointment, they'll come out in a couple of days, and they're just there for 5 minutes, and you got to provide your own key.
One question, because I want to keep it kind of informative too. Anybody know the amount of falls that are reported in Green Valley per month?
Per month.
Like 100? 100, more than 100? 200?
Not quite 200.
Wow.
It's about 130 per month that are reported to the fire department. Falls.
That's just the ones that are reported.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't finish my statement, he got it. So it is, those are the ones reported. Now times it by 4 or 5. Right? I just tripped, I'm okay. I'm okay. I just tripped, I'm okay. Or I get up. You know, the other thing too is if you see somebody fall in front of you, you might not know what's happening. Things break really easy, really fast. And so, I've been on several codes with the fire department. They recommend having the person just stay right where they are until they can get there and move them properly. So that's another recommendation.
When he started falling, I didn't want to call 911, because I didn't want to pay all that money to have him come out, and I was told
Correct. So if everybody heard that, there's no cost for them to come and help you pick someone up and put them in a chair or wherever they're supposed to be sitting or standing or resting. There's no cost to that. But if you're transporting, you know, that's another indication that might be, some are carried by insurances on the transport, some are not. So, that's another question.
It also doesn't cost anything to call them to come and remove a snake or other desert pests from your.
Don't reach in or touch any of them. Yes.
I'm gonna make a comment when you're talking about falls, because we met on one last week, my instinct was I had to go get him up. Do you see?
Uh-huh,
Yes,
uh-huh. Yes,
Don't do this to yourself.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Always call for help. Well, that's not thinking, you're reacting. You're going on the emergency react, and we will all do that, you know what I mean? So, just to call for help, because it's, if two are down, it doesn't help the one that's down. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Absolutely, thank you for sharing. Okay, great, good.
Give us a call, we'd love to help.
Thank you.